All right, well, welcome back to Always on the Hunt. Today, we have a special guest. I'm joined by someone who has been at the center of the AV industry for decades, Vin Bruno. For most, Vin doesn't need an introduction, but I will. Vin's career path is one that blends leadership, innovation, and vision. From his time as CEO of CEDIA, where he guided the custom integration community through rapid change, to his influential role at Crestron, helping shape strategy and drive adoption of advanced technologies, Vin has consistently left his mark on the industry. But beyond the titles and the boardrooms, Vin is a connector of people, a builder of communities, and a true advocate for the future of AV. His insights into leadership, organizational growth, and the global market differences give him a perspective few can match. So today we're going to explore Vin's journey with lessons learned along the way and his outlook on where the AV industry is headed next. Vin, welcome to Always on the Hunt.
Thank you, Leo. It's a pleasure to be here.
The pleasure's all ours. Trust me, it's a great honor to have you on. You're definitely somebody who's been very influential in the industry and somebody who I've always admired and looked up to and learned a lot from. So I'm excited to have you on the episode and give the listeners an opportunity to hear your story and learn from your experiences.
Great, thank you.
So I gave a quick intro to your background. Why don't you give the listeners a little bit of insight into your early career and what brought you into the AV industry?
Well, it's interesting. My early career, I always wanted to be a police officer. Okay. So after college, I tested that by becoming a military police officer in the U.S. Army. And, President Trump was just in Alaska.
Yeah.
I was stationed in Alaska.
Really?
I was I went through Fort Richardson where the president was with
Putin and the flyover.
The president of Russia. And then from there, I went to a place called Fort Greely,
okay,
which was, 2 hours from civilization. And it was a 1-year hardship tour. And it was a Coal Regions Test Center, Northern Warfare Training Center. I was a military policeman. It had its challenges with people being lonely. It had its challenges when it was dark for 23 of 24 hours a day.
Crazy.
And what I learned from that period there was that I no longer wanted to be a police officer.
Right.
Because, domestic disturbances, it's tough.
Right.
So when I was finished with the military, my present wife, we got engaged and, I needed a job. So I took a job with a broadcast supply company. And you can't even believe the ties because the current CEO of AV Services and we worked together.
Wow.
At Comprehensive Video 40 years ago. I was fixing mic mixers. Ralph was, Ralph Capria. He was a technical person. And after 3 years of us working together, Charles Rodriguez, the founder of AV Services, recruited Ralph from me. So we've been friends for 40 years, and we vacationed together. We worked through Crestron together. AV Services is a platinum elite dealer, with a small army of programmers. So the AV industry, it's a good point you bring up, right? Because Charles Rodriguez named AV Services in 1960.
Right.
Before AV was even a thing.
Yeah.
We have a letter from President Lyndon Baines Johnson congratulating AV Services on the first AV installation in the White House, which was literally a bank of slide projectors. And today, we are an ESOP. Charles gave the company to the employees, so we're an employee stock-owned program company.
Yeah.
And what we say as veterans in this business, and it ties along throughout my whole career and serving CEDIA members, is we don't care about the last 65 years of AV Services. We care about the next 65 years of AV Services. And
that's great.
That means people.
Right. It's always people, right? And you mentioned that. It's interesting how you got into this industry and the people that you worked with 40 years ago, here you are still collaborating and working with. Let's talk about your journey, right? Like obviously some big move positions and moves that you were in, obviously working for like an industry giant like Crestron. Talk about that. Talk about the pivotal moments of your career and what you learned from them and how one led into the next and so forth.
Right. So Crestron, I was the global director of marketing for Crestron. I had a marketing staff of 58 people, but they were located in the APAC region. They were located in the EMEA region. They were located in the LATAM region. And then I had some very versatile talent inside of headquarters. We literally had 24 hours a day of Crestron marketing. There was no place that I couldn't get anything that needed to be done quickly. I would just assign it to the different teams. And again, it comes down to the people. The people are the talent that communicate the message, right? And so it was very simple. Marketing at Crestron is delivering the right message to the right people at the right time, right? And the right message is about, what we're engineering, what we're producing, what will help your business, right? So it's always about the product, right? Delivering the right message to the right people. The right people were always our staff, the employees, because if the employees don't know what you're doing, then how can we expect the outside world to know what we're doing? Delivering the right message to the right people and at the right time. And the right time was always, a new product announcement, what's upcoming for a trade show, what training are we offering? And I'm very proud of, our technique and our ability to move a lot of information quickly.
Yeah, and globally. So a lot of different, obviously, languages, cultures. Like, at the time that you were at Crestron, you guys experienced, tremendous growth as well, right? So a lot of, I'm sure there was a lot of pressure to get stuff out quickly and effectively and stuff like that. Talk about that. Like, let's talk about running a global organization, 58 employees across every, like you said, every time zone, every country, every region, and so forth. Right. What were some of the challenges that you remember, and how did you address them and overcome them?
That group of 58 people was there to support the thousands of employees that we had worldwide. And that marketing group, we were responsible for building every single experience center that Crestron has today around the world.
Nice.
And under my tenure, most of the design showrooms around the world. So the experience centers would support the commercial business, and the design showrooms would support the residential business. Yeah. And one of the challenges were back in 2008, before the banking issues that we had, and it affected the residential market. So at the time, we were probably 51% commercial business to 49% residential business. And after 2008, it took a while to recover from that. We became an 80% commercial business to 20% residential business.
Right.
But we didn't like that ratio. We wanted to drive the residential business back to where it was, and we went to work on the product side and the messaging side. But the commercial business was so substantial.
Yeah.
In a short 8-year period, we doubled sales twice.
That's crazy.
And that's significant when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of business.
Right.
You're not just looking at 5 to 7% growth. You're experiencing significant growth.
And that's when you guys launched the digital media products, right?
Right. So the digital media products, it's funny, we wanted to build a campaign. I remember being in a conference room and we had all luxury brand information, taped to the walls so that we could start a campaign about how we become a luxury brand, right? A company like Rolex isn't going to allow us into the party as a luxury brand. They have a different idea of what that is.
Right.
And because of George Feldstein, the founder of Crestron, and his engineering prowess and his deep desire to communicate the best of what Crestron was offering, we morphed always into digital media discussions. Right. So we would be from luxury to industrial.
Right.
But that is what helped us to double those sales a couple of times.
Yeah, obviously it was a game changer and a game changing product. So you're managing this global team. I'm sure there's, like I said, a bunch of challenges. Like, what did you think that were some, when you look back and reflect on that time, like what were some of the biggest lessons learned or challenges that you overcame that you had to figure out and adapt, to make sure it works?
Yeah, you had to let each team, you had to have implicit trust in your team. Like, for example, Asia has a different way of communicating to their constituents. So you had to give them the freedom to break from what everybody perceived to be brand, right? They introduced colors into the swirl. We would never allow that, in New Jersey or California. Right. You have to stay on brand. And one of the challenges was getting the entire team to understand that. It's like, this is the way in the APAC region we need to communicate with our dealers.
Yeah.
And that's, again, it comes down to people, right? There's not an AI platform that's going to tell you the right answer. You have to collaborate in a room and understand, George Feldstein's passions, Randy Klein's passions, Fred Borgetzi's passions. They're aligned and they're different. Right. So it's how do you have that collaborative, in the end, right? You could all agree to disagree, but when you leave the room, you're marching forward with what you all agreed to do. Yeah. And I brought that skill and that talent to CEDIA.
Yeah. So that's a great segue. And I was going to follow up on that. You just mentioned some, titans of this industry, some heavyweights with some heavyweight personalities, right? And getting everybody on message, on brand, then going to CEDIA and then doing that. Even talk about that. Talk about how do you, what are some of your strategies or skills that you use to get buy-in and get people to, start rowing in the same direction?
It's getting the staff, the board to understand what's important to the members, right? Mm-hmm. The membership is everything. People think of CEDIA, at the time anyway, they thought of CEDIA as a show.
Right.
And I'm like, the show is a vehicle to finance this operation. Yeah. A show is a vehicle to bring our members together, those that want to participate. What I found very concerning as I walked into CEDIA is A, a broken balance sheet, and B, a staff that was, 80% working on a show and only 20% working for the members. And, a lot of members are, two-person operations or a husband and wife team. And, their $500 dues to the organization was a big deal. And what they needed, the resources to communicate, to drive business, the resources to learn how to do it right. And so I used the show to fix a couple of things. One, we sold the show to Emerald Communications. Yep. That fixed the balance sheet. We used those revenues to drive our, government affairs, to drive our education, to drive our workforce development, and to help CEDIA members, to give them the time and the resources. They didn't have marketing departments.
Right.
We had a marketing department, and we can help them, to promote themselves, and we can help them by participating in their presentations to consumers.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, a lot of what CEDIA did, I don't think a lot of the members really even understood how much work was done behind the scenes, especially with, as you mentioned, like government lobbying and standardizations and working with manufacturers to get everyone kind of on the same page. That takes that skill set that I'm trying to get you to kind of share a little bit of your secrets or your strategy, because I think a lot of leaders, in whether you're running a two-person company or 58 people in a global organization, or hundreds and thousands of members through CEDIA, getting that buy-in, I guess, especially when you hear so much criticism, right? There's always going to be critics, right? But pushing through, how have you approached that, I guess, in all these different applications or different periods of your career where you had to sit there and just have to, hey, I got to get everyone on the same page here.
That, believe it or not, starts with, good, reliable communication.
Yeah.
Okay. So this has been my practice. I don't go to bed until I've answered every last email, text, LinkedIn message, phone call, every which way that people come at me. Okay. I ensure that they get an answer that day, even if it's not the answer that I'm looking into it.
Yeah.
Then I work their way, right? So obviously, working in a corporate environment like Crestron, that was like a raging river. I mean, you're always driven. There's always new things, lots of things to do. To an association where the staff of an association, they're in a not-for-profit for good reason. They don't want the corporate environment. I had to learn how to work in that regard. And that meant, I am an idea guy, Leo,
Right.
I'll come up with an idea and I put my Crestron energy in, and I would, type up and text out the idea or email the idea. And it might come at night. It might come on a Saturday. I never expected an answer back. But what I learned was to learn how to use Outlook to delay the delivery to working hours, because it really wasn't fair. You get a text message from the boss.
Right.
It's going to create a little agitation.
Sure.
I didn't think of it that way, and I had to learn it. So once I learned to work with people how they want to work, it helped. It helped move things along very quickly. And that's I do that today.
Yeah. So how do you get the feedback? Like what do you set up, or how do you build that open communication? Because there's a lot of times where employees won't sit there and complain that, hey, my boss is texting me at 10 o'clock at night. So how do you open yourself up to that communication?
I opened up to my board of directors for help. And my board of directors, they invested in a 360 evaluation where we got a lot of, anonymous answers to questions and comments. And, I took every point to heart, and, I learned from it. And it was, it wasn't a learn for the moment. It was a learn to change my practice and to mentor people. What I've learned for me, I teach here. I teach, still I have people that I mentor at Crestron.
Right.
Still I have people that I mentor at CEDIA. Just yesterday, I took a call to talk about, they're concerned with, registration being low for the upcoming CEDIA show. And, I just talk through it.
Yeah.
So to answer that question, very rarely is my door closed. Typically, if my door in my office is closed, it's because someone else closed it.
Yeah.
Not me. I like information to be out there. There's no secrets in an organization.
Sure. You mean, you talk about leadership styles and learning how to manage people and work the way they do, so you could get them to respond better for you and so forth like that. How would you compare? Well, look, how did you adapt your style? As you mentioned, you worked at Crestron. We all know Crestron was a demanding place to work with some, like I said, some big characters. And how did you guys all adapt to each other? Like, how did you manage working in that type of high pressure environment and still maintaining the way that you treated your staff and your team?
Well, it's interesting with Crestron, right? I have always been product engineering, right? So product engineering management, right? Technology management. That's my master's is in that. And when interviewing for that position with Randy, he's like, marketing people and engineers, they're all the same. So it was kind of really, that was a good point that he made, because I was able to approach these creatives like they were engineers. And guess what? They share common personalities. So even me,
How
I
so?
wouldn't say
How so? I wouldn't think
how
that.
so.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it naturally. I wouldn't think that engineers and marketing have similar personalities.
They
But
absolutely, positively. An
yeah,
engineer can't, you know, can't, create taglines,
right,
but an engineer can create a circuit, and they have to use their imagination
sure,
around the
okay,
efficient way to create that circuit. And marketing people, they create, pictures and words. We do everything in pictures and words,
right.
but their personalities are so alike. So even me, I went into it with a engineering management mindset, and I came away with a marketing management mindset. But we're building systems,
Right. Right.
you know.
It's the creative juices, I guess, right? Like being creative, whether you're developing product or creative in a marketing campaign.
Right. And then it carries forward, being here at AV Services, where we build systems to help people communicate and collaborate.
Right.
And you have to simplify those systems. And over time you learn what some people think is cool is not cool if it doesn't work very
Right.
well.
It's got to work. It's got to be. It's always about the experience.
And it's got to be simple. And
Yeah.
the thing that we do, right, in both in technology. So let's not even call it AV. Let's just call it technology. We have idiosyncrasies in our industry that we think that the end user, the client, should know. They don't know.
No.
Like when you have like a conference room like this,
Mm-hmm.
you can build it such that it can only be a Teams room or only be a Zoom room, because Microsoft has
Right.
rules about what can be in the room. And we expect clients to understand it. Some clients like to work in Google Meet. Some clients like
Right.
to work in Zoom. Some clients like to work in Teams. So the mandate here is simplify all our conference rooms. Let's build them the way we want our clients to experience,
Mm-hmm.
without the idiosyncrasies that manufacturers put on us that we dump on the client.
Yeah.
And so AV Services simplifies everything. But that is, again, it's learned backwards. It's learned the very first time somebody wants to do a Zoom meeting in a Microsoft Teams room. It's learned the very first time that somebody wants to have a camera go up, down, left, right with them. That doesn't work very well.
Right.
So put more cameras in the room and lock in on the client.
Yeah.
It's just, it comes down to people understanding what they want and delivering what they want.
I think that's a very succinct way of describing what our industry really is. Like, people always want to talk about the tech, and I bring this up over and over again. I'm not interested in tech. Even when I ran my own integration firm, I was the least techie person that owned an integration company. Like, we named our company Smile, right? Like, we didn't even get into like technology or anything. We never talked specs. We never talked wattage or ohms or anything. We just went only on the experience and selling like, hey, this is what when you come home, you're gonna press this button, this is what's gonna happen, and just simplified the whole thing and kept the tech out of it, because, like you said, it's about the people, right, and their experience with the technology, not the tech itself. Let me follow up with as far as your mentorship and leadership, like, and then when you're at Crestron and you're representing one brand, one campaign, now all of a sudden you're sitting here responsible to represent thousands of companies, right? All your members. How's that different? Talk about, like, your approach when now all of a sudden you have to represent so many different voices and so many different, like, how did you approach that differently?
Yeah, well, when you have a powerhouse like Crestron and you're manufacturing products and, just by nature of the distribution, you're selling tens of thousands of a device, in every single month. Where when you come down to, an association like CEDIA, where it represents, again, two-person
Right.
organizations, or even an organization with 40 employees and 16 trucks, and that owner isn't making money. He's always on the brink of bankruptcy.
Right.
And what you have to do is help them. And I actually helped this integration firm, scale down his business, right, without so many trucks, without so many assets, and without so many resources, and to do more sub work, right? So those employees were placed at other organizations that can help him, and now he's making more money than he can count,
right?
Because he doesn't have that overhead, and he can actually focus on what he loves best, and that's deploying technology that homeowners love.
Yeah, and you have organizations out there like Vital, with Matt Burnett, that's I think doing great work.
Yes.
Teaching a lot of these integrators. I told them, I'm like, man, where were you 20 years ago when I was doing this? Like, I could definitely use some of his help. But all right, so you're running CEDIA. You guys, made some pretty big moves as far as with the expo and restructuring and all the education. Where do you see CEDIA today? You just mentioned that, attendance is expected to be down this year at the trade show. Where do you feel like there's opportunities for those CEDIA dealers moving forward?
Well, one of the big things that we did too was we consolidated CEDIA into one global organization. So CEDIA had these satellites, right? It had a CEDIA EMEA and a CEDIA APAC and a CEDIA Australia and a CEDIA LATAM. I said, no, we're going to be one CEDIA. That meant gaining the trust of, all the parties so that we can become one CEDIA, one board of directors, one repository for the dues, one, common set of missions, right, that would pertain to workforce development, that would pertain to government affairs in their region.
So how did you do that? Because you talk about getting everybody's trust and everyone's buy-in. I can only imagine the challenges that you were facing.
Well, I mean, the commitment to having these planning sessions be in person, getting to know one another, right? I'm not, I had to gain the trust of, the board of directors for CEDIA EMEA, and they probably thought, what's Vin doing? He wants to take over the world. It wasn't about taking over the world. It was about creating a stronger association so that we can do a better job serving our members. You always have to come back to the members. These are the people that are paying your organization.
Right.
Their $500 is a big deal.
Yeah.
And it was to me anyway. And I would count expenses based on how many member dues it took to pay for whatever this initiative is. So does this initiative benefit the member?
Right. No, that's obviously the in person. I think is a great tactic, right? Because we're all zoomed out, right? Like after COVID and so many Zoom meetings, but it's amazing what face to face still can accomplish, right? And there's magic in that face to face.
There is, right, and at the same time, a company like AV Services, right? My brother competitors out there, because we all support one another. Everybody gets a Zoom room and a Teams room. I do work with Yale University, and we did a whole audit of their entire campus with every piece of technology in every room, in every building. And it's eye-opening because back in the day, you know, you had several conference rooms, big ones, small ones,
Sure.
medium-sized ones.
Right.
Then you had huddle rooms. Now today, everybody's got an office. And one of the, the statements that I read was, what's my favorite technology?
Yeah.
My favorite technology is my office. Because of the people, because I've got my multiple displays, because I've got my way to communicate to the world through my speaker, my video bar,
right,
and all the people around me. That's my favorite technology is my office.
There you go. So let's jump back to CEDIA. I was asking you, when you look out, over the next 5 years or so, where do you feel like there's the biggest opportunity for those CEDIA dealers and integrators and members? What opportunities are out there for them?
Well, the opportunities, if you want them, they're not grand, they're not whole home automation. It's every bit of technology. It's beyond audio and beyond video. And, what is it that they want, from their home? They want a secure place. That's their place to be cozy and safe and secure. Even like on the commercial business, right? We open up to what technology we can deploy that the client needs, not what we have done and we're going to cut and paste this everywhere.
Right.
So there's opportunities for every CEDIA member that wants it, but they have to be open to the idea of what today's technology is and, how it benefits the homeowner.
Do you think there's opportunities through AI?
Yes. AI is so overused. You still need the people. AI
100%.
isn't going to take over, it's not going to take over what people do. Right. So,
I think AI enablement is a huge opportunity, both residential and commercial. I think there's a lot of people who still don't know it and can't keep up with it. Right. And as I always viewed when I was running my integration company, that I was my client's technology guy, right? Not AV guy. I was just tech, like anything technology. I needed to stay on top of it. I needed to be ahead of it. I had to be able to explain it. And I don't know. I just feel like AI could be such a great opportunity for integrators to get their footing, back, away from the security guys in the resi side and away from the IT guys in the commercial side.
Right. But you know what? They are our partners, like it or not.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's funny, when I speak to a client, right, it comes out, what do you want to do? And then they talk grand and, many buildings, these are all Fortune clients.
Right.
And so my advice always goes back to, let's do the first room. Okay. You want remote monitoring and management? Let's put it in the first room. Okay. And let's get real good at it there. And then that you can deploy it outward. So AI has been with us. Steve Jobs was talking about AI.
Right.
And now here we are today. And, it's kind of nice. You put a query in and it gives you some ideas. I wouldn't even say it gives you the best answers, but it gives you more things to think about.
Sure.
So for us, anybody that wants AI, we'll sit and have a workshop, again, in person, not even online, and then we'll play, right? It's the fun part of our business is we get to play with this stuff.
Right. I always, people always ask me, like, what's the best way to learn AI? I'm like, use it. Just go play with it, right? And then you'll see. So when you're looking at the AV industry, and again, I think you've been around long enough, right? So you've seen the trends come and go and all the cycles, and you've always had a pretty good outlook and a vision. So tell us, the listeners, what excites you the most? What gets you going every morning to go to work and in the AV space, and where do you, like I said, where do you see this whole AV industry growing into?
Yeah, again, it begins with the people. What excites me the most is teaching a new engineer, showing them the spaces that we've designed and deployed, and talking about, new clients and what they may need. And, AV services, whenever we get a new Fortune client, that means we're hiring engineers, project managers,
right,
lead technicians, and junior technicians to support that new account. It doesn't come with, oh, good, we got another customer. No,
right.
Now we have to serve that customer, and these are the resources that we need. We don't use AI to serve that new Fortune client.
No,
we use people.
Right.
And those people, you know what? They may be recent college graduates that don't know what they want to do, and they come in a coordinator role with a path to perhaps becoming a project manager, or a path to, developing their programming skills so that they can become an elite platinum programmer, because you still need them. AI didn't replace the guy that wants, their touchscreen to behave in a certain way.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fear about AI. I don't think AI is replacing people, right? I think AI is going to replace the people that don't use AI, right? It should just make us all faster, smarter, right? Better at what we do, and hopefully it's more of a tool than it is, as Skynet or whatever.
And honestly, I look at it as another feature to the systems that we're building.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at what you can have with this system.
Absolutely. You mentioned the people. I obviously that's me, right? Like that's what I do. That's the whole point of the show is to highlight people and themselves and stuff like that. I always say it's the people, not the tech, right? So when you see the industry now, and the people coming into it, like what do you think we could be doing more? It's still the same challenge, right? We got to get more people into the space. We got to get more diverse. We got to do all these. Where do you think we could be doing more or better than what we're currently doing?
Yeah, I think right in high schools. You go right to high school. We have to do, we do workshops at college to recruit people.
Right.
I think you got to we as an industry, we have to let people in high school know that this could be a path for them.
I agree.
More internships I think are good, but we could start even younger. Could start at 16 years old.
Yeah. Like all these high schools have AV departments, right? Like I go to my kids' high school and they have, a broadcast studio in it. Like the kids can do recordings and stuff. It's amazing. Like all the gear and all the tech that they have. And yeah, I don't see why not go into high schools, right? And CTS is a lot cheaper than college.
Right. And in a lot of ways, a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Right. And profitable. Right. You get good at, skilled engineers today. They do very, very well.
Right. So let's talk about your own personal philosophies. Let's kind of talk about, how Vin Bruno sees things. Right. So let's talk about your definition of success, both in business and life. How would you define it?
Well, I have a wonderful family. Right. I look around and I appreciate every person, every moment that I have. I feel very successful and accomplished, seeing my family here, right, at AV Services. I feel very accomplished seeing, people get on calls with very challenging consultants,
right,
and they're right step by step with the consultant, improving the system design. So when I see success in others and I see the development, it gives me, I have the goosebumps right now, just thinking about what I've experienced with some of the people here that we know will be the next generation of leadership, right, taking us to the next 65 years.
Yeah.
Hiring people that, are driven but don't know what their path could be, and helping to extract what their passion is, so that we can help put them on that path. That's success to me. And I see it every day. I get to enjoy it every day.
Well, I appreciate that answer. And you also validated something that I've said on this podcast a number of times, where I'm like, a lot of people join our industry and they see people such as yourself who've achieved, success and high levels and have big titles, and they think that people aren't accessible and or they shouldn't reach out. But yet here you are talking about like, hey, what you enjoy most right now is mentoring and teaching and helping and helping others grow. And I appreciate your answer for that because I think that's something really great about our industries that a lot of us want to give back, right? Take our decades of experience and make sure that we're helping others, do what we've done.
And I will say this, an ESOP is a great thing, an employee-owned company. Right from our CEO through our executive leadership team, okay, nobody works for us. Nobody works for Ralph Capria, who's our CEO. Right. He works for us, right? I facilitate the success of everyone in this organization, from a PM to a tech to an engineer to our project coordinators, to our purchasing people. And I facilitate the success of Ralph Capria, our CEO, who has the responsibility of an organization with assets and more than 400 people. Yeah. That's the
yeah. I think that servant leader mentality, right? Like when I ran my company, and anytime we would hire anyone, and I always took it as a responsibility that this person entrusted me with their livelihood and how they're going to support their family. So I need to make sure that they're successful as possible and that they can take care of their families through working for our company. So like, yeah, I agree with that mentality that, you can't look at your employees that they're working for you. They're working, you got to be working for them and making sure that they're successful.
Right. We're working together every day. And believe me, when I tell you, the systems and it's interesting, right? We've gone through periods, okay? The problems with inventory that we just suffered through, right. A couple of years ago. It's like sometimes you hear arrogance in people, right? Mm-hmm. And so I am one of implicit trust. If I work with people that I implicitly trust. Sure. If somebody betrays that trust, it's hard to get back. So when I'm working with a client, okay, and this is a true story, this client had to build a boardroom for his elder leadership. And this is, a senior living center. Right. And you know what? One of the, manufacturers was kept on, they betrayed the trust. They would say that the delivery dates and never meet the delivery dates. Yeah. And, it's interesting. I got this message that, I'm sorry that your client is in the middle of all this. I'm like, that's where you're mistaken. My client isn't in the middle. He's at the bottom of the shoe of the executive who can't use that room. Right. He's being pulverized. He's afraid for his job. All you have to do is tell me the truth. Right. We could build around it. We use that as a learning opportunity. At AV Services, we put all our engineers in a room and we made a mandate. No more designing like you knew it to be. Yeah. You have to design it to meet the deliveries. And I would actually raise my hands to the client. I say, pick one, your workforce standards, right? Because we build all systems to standards. Right. Or your schedule on time. Yeah. You know what? That client slapped that on time hand so hard. Right. That it hurt. Well, I'm like, okay, you're going to get a system on time, but it's not your workplace standard. Yeah. Look, that's again another one of you're bringing up two of my kind of philosophies. One, again, the technology didn't matter what the brand was because everyone does good stuff. Like when you look at a certain product, there's multiple providers of that product that are all providing quality stuff. Like, so I would always focus on the company, the sales rep, how they would support me, how they would come through.
are they delivering on time? Are they honest? Are they trustworthy? You know, will they help me take care of my client to the standards that I want them to? And then the other thing, you know, you mentioned about the trust, right? Like I used to tell my employees that, you know, I can teach you to be a better salesperson. I could teach you to be a better technician, but I can't teach you how to be honest, right? And if you're not honest and you're not dependable and you're not trustworthy, I have no purpose for you. So that, like, give me the bad news. I could deal with it, but I can't deal with the lies and I can't deal with surprises. Those were the two things that, like, you know, so I think those are important philosophies for business owners and leaders to really take to heart. Then, you know, when you look back through your career, you know, and I'm going to try to, you know, pin you down a little bit on this one, but like, what are you most proud of? Like, let's be a little specific. When you look back and you think about something that you either accomplished or whatever, what are you the most proud of?
You know, it's ongoing, right? I'm most proud of, you know, at this moment, and this is the truth, okay? Because I had the benefit of doing, you know, a number of great things, right? Doubling sales at Crestron the first time was great. Doubling sales at Crestron the second time was great.
Right.
Going to work at CEDIA and, you know, fixing a broken balance sheet and getting the priorities of the organization centered on the members was great.
Right.
Creating one single global CEDIA was great.
Yeah.
Today, right now, as I sit, one of our clients was able to have a very successful earnings call from a studio we just built. Nice. Right? Because we say excellence is our standard.
Right.
Right. We back that up with 1 year of what we call Care Plus by AV Services, meaning if something goes wrong, we're in that room to fix it. And you know what? Our guys do such a good job. We never have to go in there in a year.
Right.
And I got a wonderful note from the client that said, let's party. We had a great earnings call. The CEO had a great earnings call. That right now, as of where I sit today, is my proudest moment. And I know that tomorrow I'll have another proud moment.
Good. I thought you were going to say being a guest of Always on the Hunt, but okay, you know, we'll take that answer.
This is fun, by the way. This is just fun.
Well, I'm enjoying it. Like I appreciate you know all the wisdom and insight you're sharing with us. Let me ask you. This is my favorite question to ask any guest. You know, when you look back and you think back to your career, what advice would you give yourself, to your 25-year-old self, just starting off? What advice would you give yourself?
Well, so I think, what advice would I give myself? Lots of advice. Yeah. One of the things, you know, don't try to do it all yourself. You know, one of my criticisms that I learned from is that I never ask for help. Yeah. You know, you don't always have to, you know, you could share the burden of information, because sometimes that's what information is. It's a burden. Mm-hmm. So when I was 25 years old, I would have said, you know, share your problems. Don't keep your problems to yourself.
That's great.
You know, I started my career, you know, fixing mic mixers and then becoming a product engineering manager. And the problem with that organization was we worked in offices. Everybody had an office with a closed door. And fortunately for me, I shared an office with somebody that I respected dearly, and I was able to bounce things off. My second organization, and even the marketing department at Crestron, I made be an open floor. And we were criticized for that open floor because everybody needs privacy, right? So we had places for privacy. Sometimes you need to do some personal banking and you need a space to do it. But the floor was open for the simple reason that if a problem arose, we could take care of it right away. Yeah. But if you're hiding that problem because you're scared, and that's a natural instinct for people, it only gets worse. It gets so bad that people lose their jobs over it.
Sure.
So what would I share? Anyone that when I was 25 years old, don't keep it to yourself. You're not going to get fired for, you know, behaving on the best interest of the company. Yeah. But you can be fired for keeping things to yourself and not allowing us to fix whatever the issue is.
You know, you mentioned your board a couple of times, but like, do you have like your own personal like advisory council? Like, you know, a handful of people that you're always reaching out to and picking their brains and sharing, your challenges with them?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah. As a matter of fact, one of them is a dear friend. We were military policemen together in Alaska.
Nice.
So when I was in that hardship tour, 108 miles from civilization, a couple of hours away, I had Oren to bounce things off of. And today we still do.
Good. Yeah. That's something that I struggled with. When I started my company, I was 20 years old, and I thought that I had to know it all, right? Because I'm the CEO of the company, I'm the founder. And a lot of it was insecurity, like because I was young and trying to prove myself, right? So like I hid things, and I was trying to, like, if I would have just built out like a trusted advisor circle, I'm sure our company would have grown even faster and even more.
Right. Well, my absolute trusted advisor is my wife of 40 years.
100%.
If I really, really want to get the hard answers, I go to her.
It's amazing how much smarter and more wisdom they have than
That's
us, right? It's crazy. Hey, one last question. Let's go with. We'll wrap up on this one. One piece of advice that you'd give to integrators, either CEDIA or Avixa side, or even the manufacturers, like what's the big takeaway? What's the one big piece of advice that somebody could take away from you?
Yeah. Simplify. Whatever you do, go to the simplest thing that you can do.
Nice. Yeah. I agree. That we're doing a lot of complicated things, but it doesn't have to be that complicated, right?
We perceive things to be cool, and it's not that cool.
Yeah.
I mean, look at us today. I mean, you go back to AI. You could ask any question. Yeah. Teach me about pizza making techniques, and you get a whole long list or specific types of flour for dough. Everything is cool,
right?
But the coolest thing is the thing that works every single time.
Yeah, I used to have a saying, that I'll tell our technical people at my integration company. I'd be like, just because we can doesn't mean that we should.
Right.
And that was part of it. Like yes, we can design that in. Sure, we could program that, but I don't think that's gonna simplify their lives or really bring them value. So for sure. Vin, where can the listeners get a hold of you?
My favorite is Vin Bruno at avservices.net.
Okay.
It's the one email that I look at every time. And if you want to learn about AV services, it's avservices.net.
Awesome. Well, look, again, I appreciate so much for you to come on today and spend almost an hour with me. I know your time's valuable. And again, thank you so much for everything that you've done for our industry, and thanks for coming on the show. And I just can't express my gratitude enough to you.
No, Leo, thank you for having me, and it's been my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, to the listeners, if you're still here, thank you for listening and staying with us. Hit that like, subscribe, 5-star review would be appreciated, and share with your friends and colleagues. And then until next week, good luck with your hunts. Thank you.